Joseph Herron here with young, talented trainer from San Antonio, Texas, the proprietor of Team Morones Boxing Club, Mr. Rick Morones Jr., and we're going to be breaking down for you, giving you the Boxing 411 on Canelo Alvarez versus Alfredo Angulo. It's going to be taking place on March 8th, Showtime pay-per-view at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada. Rick, great fan-friendly fight. What is so intriguing about this matchup, my friend?
Oh, man, Alfredo Angulo and Saul Canelo Alvarez, what a fight. These two guys are both coming off losses, but, you know, that makes it more exciting because both are trying to get back on track in their career. You know, Alfredo Angulo is a big puncher. You know, Canelo, I don't think has ever faced somebody that can punch as hard as Alfredo Angulo. So, you know, it's going to be a great fight. I mean, you gotta buy a pay-per-view for that night. I mean, the whole card is actually great, but Canelo Alvarez and Angulo is going to be a phenomenal fight.
Yeah, absolutely correct. When you look at the style matchup, this is like peanut butter and jelly, brother. You've got the consummate, explosive counterpuncher versus the effective aggressor. Both guys are murderous punchers. This is the irresistible force versus the immovable object. Who has the advantage here, brother? Let's start by breaking down Alfredo Angulo's style. This is a gentleman who I don't think gets enough credit for being as proficient as he is at cutting off the ring, fighting on the inside, throwing creative combinations underneath around the opponent's guard. Talk about Alfredo Angulo. What makes him so effective?
Well, Alfredo Angulo, first of all, is a great fighter. You know, like you said, he's very underrated in a lot of different areas in his game. You know, he has a great chin. That's one thing. It's very difficult to fight a guy who can keep constant pressure, that can take a punch. He has a great left hook, and we've seen it damage many fighters in his career, including Erislandy Lara, who he lost to in his last fight. You know, you can't forget Erislandy Lara ain't just any fighter. You know, this is a guy who's very hard and difficult to fight. He's very awkward at times. He's a southpaw, quick hands, great footwork, had a big amateur pedigree. So, you know, we can't just take away too much from Alfredo Angulo in that fight. This is a guy who knocked him down twice, if I'm correct, going into that fight, and had Lara severely hurt at times too throughout the fight, and you know, so you know, Alfredo Angulo is a very effective aggressor, man. He's the guy that if you're gonna hit him with something, he's gonna keep coming. He's gonna keep coming to eventually he's like flies on poop, Joseph. You can't, you know, it's hard to get them off, man. Once they're on, they're on, you know. So Alfredo Angulo is just a very great pressured fighter. And working with Virgil Hunter, you saw in his last fight with Erislandy Lara, he actually used the jab a little bit more. He tried to, and like I said, being in front of a guy, a world-class fighter like Erislandy Lara, who many fighters don't want to be in the ring with at this time, it's very difficult to, you know. So you can't take too much away from Alfredo Angulo that night. And he did come to fight. He stopped him. I mean, he dropped him a couple of times and had Erislandy Lara in a mix of war, you know. So, you know, it's come Saturday, March 1st, it's gonna, March 8th, I'm sorry, it's going to be great. It's going to be a great fight to watch.
Absolutely. Now you look at the other side of the ring, coming out of the red corner. It's going to be Saul Canelo Alvarez. And this is a gentleman who's coming off a very disappointing loss in which a lot of people were truly convinced that he was going to be the one to give Floyd Mayweather Jr. his first and only professional loss. Obviously, that didn't happen, but there's a pretty good reason why a lot of people were so high on him and are still very high on this guy. He's a rock star, and one of the reasons why is because of his explosive punching power. He has very fast hands. He combines speed with power, but there's somewhat of something that you actually give up when you combine speed and power now, isn't it, Rick? What is that, brother?
Oh, you sacrifice punch volume, and on the other end, you look at Alfredo Angulo, who's not going to sacrifice or even be willing to sacrifice that because he lets his hands go consistently. So, you know, by Canelo, who, you know, Canelo's the kind of guy that he has to sit down, you know, to let his hands go. And by sitting there, it might cause him some, you know, getting hit with some shots that he doesn't see from a left hook, an overhand right hand that Alfredo Angulo throws. And, you know, we saw even with the Austin Trout fight at times where Austin Trout was able to, as the fight was going, seems like after the knockdown, Austin Trout completely just woke up. And, you know, he was able to back up Canelo a little bit and land them overhand shots, you know, and that was Austin Trout who was taken out of his game. You don't really see Austin Trout fight in that sense too much. All right, this is Alfredo Angulo who is used to fighting into that pocket and throw them overhand shots You know, and Canelo Alvarez, who, like you said, you know, he sacrifices that punch volume when he combines speed with power, and I see him, you know, maybe getting Alfredo Angulo landing some big shots, some overhand right hands, some left hooks, and you know that I think that will going to cause Alfredo Angulo, Canelo Alvarez some problems.
You know, that's right. And you go back to that Austin Trout fight. That's very astute of you, Rick, because as he showed a lot of defensive guile against a very, very talented and somewhat a matador, though, like Austin Trout, Austin's never been an effective aggressor, so he had the luxury of possibly showing that, the shoulder roll, the upper body and head movement against a guy like Austin Trout, who is not used to taking the lead. But Alfredo Angulo, can you actually stand in front of Alfredo Angulo and use your upper body and head movement and expect him to miss you?
Well, you know, we saw in that fight with Austin Trout, you know, at times when Canelo was, you know, trying to be defensive, and you saw Austin just maybe throwing one punch here and there, trying to figure out, you know, how to land that big shot. I don't see, I mean, everything Alfredo Angulo throws is pretty much a big shot. You know, he's going to be touching shoulders, elbows, body, whatever he can hit to kind of slow down Canelo Alvarez. So, I mean, he can't be doing that little pretty defensive things he was doing against Austin Trout. He's not going to have the luxury against Alfredo Angulo to be able to do that.
Also, another problem that Canelo Alvarez has actually shown in his last several bouts against Austin Trout and against Floyd Mayweather Jr., already he's got a very, very sporadic punch output, and it seems very limited because, like you said, he combines speed with power, he sacrifices punch volume, and he has these lulls in punch output. Can you afford to do that against a guy who's going to be all over you like Alfredo Angulo?
Oh, no, not at all. You can't, you know, and this is actually, Joseph, a fight that when it was announced, you know, us true boxing fans who know the situation, I was a little shocked. I said, you know, Canelo, who was coming off that loss against Mayweather, and there's nothing bad about coming off a loss against Floyd Mayweather, but, you know, the way he lost was very, very shocking to a lot of fans. They expected him to take maybe a little more chances, do a little more things, and he wasn't able to do that. You know, there's not much you could do with a guy like Alfredo Angulo, you know. The worst thing that can happen is Alfredo Angulo gain confidence throughout that fight and feel like he's doing something. You know, whether he's landing or not, if Alfredo Angulo letting his hands go, his confidence level is going to go up, you know. And coming into this fight, if anybody's, you know, has less confidence, I think it's Canelo Alvarez coming into this fight, you know, the way he lost. You know, Alfredo Angulo actually felt and made several comments, including Virgil Hunter, saying that he actually felt as the fight was going that he was making them adjustments and slowing down Lara. So this is a guy who did not technically get knocked out. Okay, he wasn't on his back. You know, he had issues with his eye, seeing with his eye and stuff. So, you know, he still doesn't know yet what it was to be knocked out. You know, on the other hand, Canelo Alvarez, you know, kind of knows what it is to be embarrassed a little bit. You know, and I was actually at that fight, and there was, you know, fans all over. I mean, just quiet. I mean, you could hear crickets in there. Floyd was just pretty much, Floyd was having his way. Floyd was actually having his way in there, you know. And the problem is, you know, Canelo was sitting there just trying to load up on a big shot, trying to walk Floyd down. And Floyd was actually, his punch volume was moving. You know, whether he was throwing combination, his jab was out. He was throwing right hands, hooks. He was even touching the body at times. And you saw Canelo Alvarez, you know, pass him up a little bit and not be aggressive as you know, at times we have seen him.
You know what's amazing? Now let's look at the advantages that Canelo Alvarez actually possesses in this matchup. Obviously a big one, hand speed. And he seems to be a much more well-preserved fighter. He hasn't really taken a lot of punishment. Alfredo Angulo obviously has, so that's a huge advantage. Speed, you've got youth. He's got some, you know, just great athleticism. Like we said, he's explosive, but the hand speed isn't really going to make very much difference if you cannot hurt your opponent. How important is it for Canelo Alvarez to get that respect early and to hurt Alfredo with something within the first few rounds?
Oh, he's got to get his attention early. He has to. I mean, you know, he can't expect to hurt Alfredo Angulo in the 8th or 9th round, and he's got to do it early. And when I mean early, I'm talking maybe the first round, catch him with a good shot, catch him with a good right hand or something, second round, because Alfredo Angulo, you know, and for the fight fans out there who do fight, know what it is to be with somebody who can take a punch and just consistently keep coming and coming. I mean, it's a difficult style to fight, you know, and Canelo Alvarez, you know, he's going to have to do something very early, whether it's hurt him, knock him down, whether it's, you know, try to aim for that eye that's been injured. I mean, whatever he's got to do, he's going to have to do it early, because if not, all Alfredo Angulo is going to do is gain confidence throughout the fight. And when you got a guy like that who, in his mind, really doesn't care and has nothing to lose, he's coming in for an upset. You know, he's been given an opportunity on a big stage to fight Canelo Alvarez. He's going to take advantage of it. You know, if you don't take advantage of him, he will take advantage of you. So Alfredo Angulo is a dangerous fight. He's a good, solid opponent.
You know, this is a tremendous fight. So we've got a great style matchup. It's going to be on pay-per-view. I'm going to ask you for your prediction, Rick. So give the Boxing 411 audience what you think. How do you see this fight playing out? And who's going to get their arm raised in victory on March 8th from the MGM Grand?
Oh, once again, it's a tough one to pick. I mean, boxing 2014 is starting off great matchups. These are matchups that are well even out, and anybody can win. I'm gonna have to say, you know, I think Canelo Alvarez can pull off a decision, and you know, if Alfredo Angulo wins, I think he can hurt. You know, he's gonna win by hurting Canelo Alvarez throughout the fight. But you know, my final prediction will be a Canelo Alvarez decision.
You know, you seem a little hesitant there, though, Rick, because in my mind, I got the sense when I was listening to you that was going to be a coin flip, a 50-50. But obviously, kudos to you for actually making a decision. He's picking Canelo Alvarez for the decision victory, but you did say whether or not it was going to be a split, a majority. You're just saying decision, right?
I witnessed the last fight with Mayweather Canelo, and I saw a majority decision out there, you know. So you never know with these judges, man. I mean, he had a majority decision with Canelo and Mayweather. That was just ridiculous. That was crazy. So, you know, it's hard to say split, majority. I think he wins a decision.
It's going to be tough for the judges. Both guys can punch, but obviously Alfredo Angulo is going to be letting his hands go a lot more. But Canelo, he's so pretty when he throws. His combinations are very explosive. So they're a lot flashier. It's going to be really difficult to anticipate what the judges are going to prefer. The explosive punches and bunches, creative combination punching by Canelo Alvarez, or the aggressive volume punching by Alfredo Angulo. And a lot of people, they always seem to think that, well, Alfredo Angulo, man, he just takes way too many shots. But a lot of people don't take this into consideration. He takes a lot of shots because he can.
Yeah, he can. He definitely gets away with it. Another thing I want to point out that's interesting in that fight is if you look at, you know, Canelo's past fights, and that's been one of the problems and issues that he's had, is his conditioning. As the fight goes on, you know, his conditioning has been an issue. Even with Austin Trout, it seemed like Trout, like I said, after that knockdown, after the second half of the fight, pretty much took over that fight. Even with Floyd, you know, and you're talking, Canelo wasn't even aggressive. He wasn't even letting his hands go as much. But you could see, you know, him breathing hard within the corners, and you know, so Alfredo Angulo, if he's in condition, and he's bringing them 2 stones in them gloves, man. You know, Canelo better be in shape to fight 12 rounds and not expect to go in there and knock out Alfredo Angulo. He's got to be ready for 12 hard rounds, because that's what Alfredo Angulo is going to bring to the table. You know, he packs a punch. That I've seen, he's always been in shape. You know, he's coming to fight, and he's coming to let his hands go. So Canelo Alvarez is, you know, he's in a fight. This ain't no joke fight. You know, this is a fight that we got to thank boxing for making, because this is a great fight.
Absolutely. I'm Joseph Herron. This is Rick Morones Jr., aspiring young trainer from San Antonio, Team Morones Boxing Club. But guys, we're looking at a great one from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada, March 8th. Showtime pay-per-view. Guys, you don't want to miss this one. Great style matchup. But we're signing off, and we can't wait to see this one. Thanks for tuning in to the Boxing 411. If you like what you see, click here to see more. Be sure to subscribe. Rick, show them where to click, brother.